Welcome back. Well, apologies for that bad audio, but we do have Mr. Kayode Ajulo back now. So could you go ahead and continue your thoughts on the matter?
Well, thank you very much, Chimbale. So I think I stopped where I mentioned that the courts in Nigeria, that starting from the one in Abuja, then from Abuja to Kaduna, then to Asaba, trying Ibori before eventually he ended up in the United Kingdom. One simple issue that we need to know is that the state government, that is the state government, and some other people in the state stood against that trial, claiming that no money is missing, even to the point of swearing some affidavit in court to that extent. Now, as it is, Ibori pleaded guilty. I was found wanting and was sentenced and convicted. And in accordance with the UK Proceed on Crime Act, the money was confiscated, and from that point belongs to Her Majesty the Queen government. And as it is, but based on the United Nations Convention on Against Corruption, there's the way some of this confiscated money can be treated. And that is why there is some article, there are some terms, that when the participating party needs to have anything to do with it, part of it will be that they may go into an agreement to ensure that this money, since it is a proceed of crime, it is confiscated, will not go the same way how it comes from. That is to say that to ensure that the money will not be rerouted. And that is why you see from what you showed earlier, the government of Nigeria and the United Kingdom had an MOU. And part of the condition in that MOU to safeguard this money is to the fact that first, there will be a civil society that will monitor the expenditure, will monitor this money to ensure that the money will not go the other way, will be for the project that it is. And as it is, and unfortunately, when it comes to international issue, the component state has no say. It is the federal government. And from the way it is, the federal government has already said this is the way this money will be expended. And I don't really know why there is fuss about it. Because morally, it is uncharitable for those that are already claimed. You need to see what happened then. Stripping yourself and the naked on the street, fighting, lawyers were being beaten. One or two of my lawyers in Kaduna were touched, were harassed, were assaulted over this matter. And I need to let you know this. Anyway, no, let us stop there. I don't think I need to be personal about this issue. But as it is, sentiment cannot override the law. And that is one thing we have to know. Yes, data people may be sentimental about this, but this is a very clear case. And my fear is this. This first 4.2 million pounds is even just part of it. It's just the beginning. There are more, and my fear is that at the end of the day, Nigeria may lose the entire.
Mr. Ajulo, just before you move on from that point, let me bring in Mr. Monday Obani. Mr. Obani, do you subscribe to that school of thought?
Certainly, Chamberlain, thank you for having me. I do not in any way subscribe to the submission of my learned friend that the money belongs to the federal government. There is none of those laws that he has just cited. The Proceed of Crime Act, that is domiciled in UK, or even the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. None of those laws say that if the money that is actually stolen from a particular state in the country is recovered, that money belongs to the state actor that acted on behalf of the entire country at any point in time. Rather, what actually happened in Ibori's loot is that the federal government had a memorandum of understanding, I think it was in 2016, and when this particular money was recovered, and then an agreement was reached, that agreement was a product of negotiation. In other words, what Britain wants to know is which area of your basic infrastructure are you putting this money? Because over time, much of the money that has been recovered has been relooted. And every any organization now or countries are interested in knowing what purpose you want to use the money you have recovered, illicit money you have recovered, what you want to use it to do. So it's a product of negotiation. It's a product of discussion. it is the federal government that will now tell them, oh, this is what we want to use it for. And I think the federal government made a mistake by not telling them, look, this money belongs to a particular state government.
Okay. We'll try to get Mr. Obani back. But Mr. Ajilo, he stopped at a point where he said that the federal government failed to tell the UK government that, you know what, these monies actually belong to Delta State. So do you think the federal government can be faulted in that line?
No, you know what it is? I think Mr. Ivan is just reporting what he knows nothing about, really. He wasn't a party to the negotiation, so he cannot be reporting what he is not privy to. The situation is so clear, and that is why you can see I limited myself to the issue of law, not to any narrative that can be disjointed, that can be treated. One thing that is so certain is this. Like I said here initially, UK proceed on crime proceed is so clear that once money is confiscated, it goes to the treasury of the United Kingdom. As it is, this money, as it is, I'm talking of law, I'm not talking of sentiment. As it is, this money belongs to United Kingdom, belong to Her Majesty. But because of the fact that it's confiscated and because of the fact that the justice must be done, that the money needs to be returned back to must be returned back to the federal government. That is why the United Nations Convention Against Corruption made some terms that must be met. And let me set an example. In 1999, in this case of Ostad, that is the Castan, this about $85 million was looted and was recovered in Geneva. And what happened is this: the United States and Geneva government set up a BOTA, that is a foundation. And the essence of that foundation is to ensure that this money will not be looted. This money will be used for project. And that is why, if you remember what the Attorney General of the Federation said, it's a legacy project. And what are these legacy projects? The Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, the one in the Niger Bridge, and Abuja to Kano. All this belongs to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Okay, I challenged one of my friends yesterday to say,
Mr. Ajilo, just a moment. I mean, we'll get to some of the, those issues, but let's try to take this bit by bit, because these are, major points of controversies out there. So let's begin by asking, who exactly is the victim of this stolen fund? Is it the Delta State government or the federal government, or Delta people or the federal government?
Well, from circumstances, by circumstances, first, you may think is the people of Delta State, but their government has rejected to say they are not victim. It is on record. It would have been better if these are the things that's been rumored left and right. But by affidavit evidence, by record in court to say our money is not missing. I'm a Nigerian. I know what it is. Presently, I'm in the UK. I know the way it's with Nigerian are the victim. Let me say here, because in international fora, the real state actors are the federal government, not the component state. And as it is, all Nigerians, even not only Nigeria, the black race, they are victim of this.
Mr. Ajilo, I think that extrapolation is quite interesting, really. I mean, extrapolating to the black race. We could as well say it's the whole world that is a victim of that by way of extrapolation. But, okay, I think we have Mr. Monday Obani back. Mr. Ajilo, we'll come back to you, but let's let Mr. Obani land on that point he was making before we lost the connection.
Yeah, so you can hear him say that the entire money now belongs to the entire black race. The logical thing to explain and the most reasonable thing to infer from the factual situation is that the money belongs to Delta State. I don't know this issue of affidavit being sworn by few political elites in Delta now depriving the entire Deltans, majority of Deltans, the money that rightly belonged to them. If you recall, my brothers in the studio, that there was a time the current president never believed that Abacha stole even one kobo from the treasury. Even up to now, President Buhari does not believe that Abacha took any money from the system. But these monies have been returned to the federal government. In fact, monies keep on coming. We keep on receiving alerts, from the grave of Abacha, and never did any of the international, the countries in the world where these monies were domiciled ever said because the president of the country said that the money no money was taken out of the system, they will not return the money back to Nigeria? We have had instances, we have had evidences, we have factual situations where money that belonged to Bayelsa State was returned to Bayelsa. We have had instances where money that belonged to Plateau State was returned to Plateau State when they were brought back by Britain. So why is the data of Delta different? And they are now saying because some few political elite at that point in time say no money was missing. We should now deny the entire Deltans, majority of the Deltans, millions of Deltans, this money directly belonged to them because some few political elite, according to him, who are now affidavit. I don't believe that is the factual situation. The factual situation was that Ibori was the governor of Delta State. The factual situation was that Ibori was never the president of Nigeria, was never a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, but governor of a particular state. And so if there was any money taken out of the system, it was money that belonged to that particular state. And the right thing to do is to return that money. As I said earlier, it was a product of negotiation between Britain and Nigeria. And I think that at the point of negotiation, Nigeria should have mentioned that this money belonged to a state government. So even if you are going to put any impact on any project, it must be a project that is domiciled in Delta State. Now, Second Niger Bridge is not domiciled in Delta State. The issue of the issue of Ibadan Lagos Expressway is not in Delta State. So not even discussion was held with any of the stakeholders in Delta State as to what project they may want. So I don't want to believe that there was any law that says that money that is coming back to Nigeria must not be given back to Delta State. There is no single law. Let him cite any law that says so. And I don't think that if federal government had mentioned that the project they want to carry out, with domicile in Delta, that Britain would have said, oh, we're not returning money back to you and all that. So there is nothing like that. Let's be logical, let's be factual, and also let's also be reasonable in whatever submission we're making concerning this particular issue. And we have had examples I have given you. Bayelsa State, Plateau State money, return to those states. So why is Delta State an issue? Why are they not doing the right thing?
On that, Mr. Obani, yes, let's get Mr. Ajulo to respond to that. You've cited two issues, Mr. Obani. So, Mr. Ajulo, he cited two issues for your response. One is, what law compels Nigeria to own the money as opposed to, giving it back to Delta State? And secondly, two examples. Joshua Dare of Plateau State, Alami Esia of Bayelsa State, both routes were returned to their different states. How do you respond?
Well, thank you very much. Let me start with the issue of the Alami Esia and Joshua Dare. In these two cases, it is on record that the state government, first if you remember, the administrator of Plateau State really joined the matter against Zaire to ask that the money should be returned to Plateau State. Then in the matter of Alami Esia, then I think it was the President Obasanjo and President Goodluck Jonathan happened to be the government. In these two states, the two states never deny that this is what the former principal did. But in this Delta State, the issue is this. Let me remind us of one thing. The essence of this procedure is to ensure that the money so looted and so confiscated will not be relooted again. I think the guarantee should now be, and what I respect my brother, my friend, should be saying is that how will it guarantee the fact that even this money should go to Delta State?
We'll come to that. We'll come to that part of we'll come to that part of relooting, because that's also structural and cardinal to the conversation. So, but go back to the issue of law that he mentioned. You have cited the fact that the money, that's confiscated by the state in the UK belongs to Her Majesty the Queen. Now, the Queen is supposed to has volunteered to give it back to Nigeria. What should Nigeria do? Isn't it just almost like common sense? I don't know. To just return it to Delta State?
Law.
Yes. So what's the law?
For a law. Let me read. Thank you. You asked for a law. Article 57.5 of the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. Now, let me tell you what the article said. It said, where appropriate, the SP, that is the state party, may also give special consideration to concluding agreement mutually acceptable to arrangement on a case-by-case basis for final disposal of the confiscated property. That means that what that one means is that the state, that is party, should consider the circumstantial, the issue that led to this. And that's what we're saying, that this thing is not the record science that once a money is recovered, it will be taken back to where it is taken from. And that is, and apart from that, Nigeria, we are common law courts, we are common law country, and we deal on precedent. The precedent of this, that's why I mentioned the case in 1999. In this case of Oriel, this is a money that is being recovered by a federal republic of Kazakhstan. What happened in that matter is that, having known that this money, because even from the face of it, it is so clear that this money belongs to that country. But because of United Nations, United States and Geneva, that the Geneva government knew that this money would never get to the people. What they did is to sign agreement that between Bota Foundation. Bota Foundation is to get some trustees within the state, within the country, and then use the Bota Foundation to distribute the money on three areas. First, the infrastructure. Second, the education. Then third, on their civil society. This is what it is. And that is why when we talk of the law, I've started two laws. First, the law, the legislation, that is the term and agreement of that convention, or the United Nations Convention. Then the second is by precedent. As it is, we are not saying, the Nigerian government is not saying that the Delta State will never have anything to do with it, but to guarantee, to safeguard that this money will go to the right point. That is why, if you remember, the first thing in that agreement is that a civil society group must be on ground to monitor how this money will be expended. If the federal
government has already said this is what the money is going to be spent on, where then is the consideration of the states in all of this?
I said something some minutes ago. Let us look at the project. We are talking of legacy projects. Lagos Ibadan Express.
Mr. Ajulo, we will come to those projects. Just a moment. We will come to those projects, because this is not the first time the federal government will say this recovered money is going to be used for these specific projects that you have mentioned. And we have also heard a number of times that one loan or the other is procured for one project or the other. But let's go back to Mr. Ubani to respond to some of the things that you have said. Mr. Ubani, he cited two laws. How do you respond?
Thank you, my brother, Makinde. It's important we listen to him. I listened to him. I didn't see any provisions in those laws. The Proceeds of Crime Act in Britain, it means that anytime somebody brings an illegitimate money into that country, Britain will do everything that is humanly possible on recovery to return that money back to the country where that money comes from. They don't take it. And that's why Britain said we don't need the money. So that act never in any way specified that whenever you are returning money, you must return it to the country, and the country must not return it to wherever it comes from. That law never says so. Even the convention, the United Nations Convention against Corruption, which he also mentioned, there is no such provision. I wanted him to cite where it was stated that if money is recovered and money is taken from a state government in any country, for the fact that the political elite say, oh, that money was not money was missing, then that money should not be returned to that particular state. He never cited any law like that. What I said earlier is, when you recover such money by any country, because of the bilateral treaty you have entered into with those countries, you have to sit down and negotiate and discuss what project, because they know over time that money can be rerouted. And there was nothing wrong for federal government of Nigeria to say, oh, we have projects in Delta State because that is where that money, came from. We need to, invest that money there. And there is no way Britain would have told them, oh, no, we're not returning that money because you want to go and invest that money in Delta State. But our federal government now.
Yeah, and again, but okay, I'm sure we'll get Mr. Ubani back. But Mr. Ajulo, one of the things that he has said over and over again is this money was looted from Delta State. Shouldn't it just go straight back without any conversations?
Yeah, so without any conversation with Delta. They never had any conversation with Delta and say, look, we have this money we are recovering. We want to take it back to any project you have. Can you give us any project? They never mentioned that. So
okay. Mr. Obani, just a moment. Mr. Ajilo, want to respond to that? The money was stolen from Delta State. Shouldn't it just be returned to Delta State by the federal government?
Well, thank you very much. Mr. Obani has keep on saying about the few elites, forgetting that here we're talking of the government of Delta State, who today sworn to uphold and to ensure the welfare of the people of Delta State. As it is, are we now saying that the money should go back to the same people? It's so obvious that the money will be related. That is the position. And like I said, when he mentioned that one never cited any law, that the Article 57.5 I mentioned talked about special circumstances, particularly in this case. The circumstance is so clear that this is a special circumstances that the money is taken to Delta, we know what will become of it. And that is why we raised for the second question. We raised the second issue of what happened in 1999 between the United States and in Geneva. That is the Republic of Carpenter. And what matters most here is this. Yes, we know that this money belongs to Nigeria. And the Nigerian government has talked about the legacy project, a simple project that we know that affects everybody in Nigeria. I've been asking this question, that in any of these projects, which one can we say the Delta State people, Delta State indigenous did not have anything to do with it? Or are you now saying that the money should be returned to the same Delta State government?
Okay, Mr. Ajilo.
That first denied that nothing.
Just quickly, so are you saying, in essence, that if indeed the political elites at that point or the government had said, well, money was looted, then the money would be returned or should be returned to Delta State?
It would have been better. And quickly, let me remind you of
I need you to answer that. If they had said that money was indeed looted, then would you say that that money should be returned to Delta State?
To some point, I will say that. And quickly, let me remind you.
Okay, so Mr. Ajilo, just a moment. You will make that point. Just let's stay with this one, because clearly you are basing your decision on that statement. But would it surprise you to know that indigents of Delta State actually petitioned the EFCC saying that money has been looted?
Yeah. The indigent of Delta State that petitioned the EFCC, well, the petition the EFCC through me. And that is why I mentioned those people, that the people that made petition, that is led by Chief Ike Clark, they are still alive. And that is why I said in part of my memo that even if there should be anything that they believe that should go to the Delta State, special trustee, special arrangement should be done. But to send this money to Delta State government, we all know what will happen to that money.
So wait, they petitioned through you, meaning you believed in their case and you argued on their behalf that indeed money was looted. Is that right?
But what I'm saying is this.
No.
We should understand one thing.
No, Mr. Ajilo, yeah, we'll come to what you're saying. But could you just shed light on that point, please?
What I said earlier is this. Some people of Delta State, led by Chief Ike Clark, petitioned the EFCC that money, that Ibori looted their money. Now, the government, I'm talking of government, and you know what government means, that's the embodiment of the entire Delta State, denied any money limit. Not only that, they denied that.
Sorry, it says that...
Mr. Bani, just hold on, Mr. Bani. Hold on, we'll come to you, but Mr. Ajilo, I'm trying to understand your point. You said they petitioned through you that money was indeed missing, and you argued their case. Wasn't that the case?
Yes. Okay, that is the case. But in courts, what happened, what is on record today, is the fact that the government, that is the government, I'm not talking of few citizens, the government denying that no money is missing. Now, the question I've been saying is this, and this is my position. If this money has to be returned, as being clamored by it, that should be returned to Delta State, who will superintend the money?
Okay, before you get to that point, no. As you know, that was not part of the law. You said you're sticking to the points of law. But when you then say, as my colleague, they ask you that, if the state, or if he had said, yes, money was looted, then they would have returned it to the state government. And you said to some point you agree with that. First, you need to tell us, to what point do you agree with that? And secondly, if that were the case, what then happens to the law that you cited, the Article 57? Does that invalidate that Article 57?
Certainly invalidate it, because like I said, we have to make these two distinctions. The few people that said the money were missing are different from the government. When we are talking of government, the embodiment, that is the one recognized. And the question now is this: if you are saying that the money should be returned to Delta State, to who? To the same government? Government is continuing. As it is, government is in denial. And that is why I quickly tried to explain what happened in 2016 by the Federal Court in Abuja, that says that the sister recovered money
but Mr.
should
Ajulo,
not be given to Delta State.
Is the government on trial?
The government is not on trial, but the question here is this: if the money has to be returned to Delta State, is it you or Chamberlain that will receive the money? It is the government of Delta State.
Isn't that immaterial? Isn't that immaterial to the extent that the government is not on trial?
But no, but again, what we have to know is this:
yes or no?
The essence of that convention today is to ensure that the looted money will not be relooted. It's so obvious, so apparent, that if the same money should go back to the government of the...
All right, in other words, okay, well, assuming without conceding that that's the point, when Swiss and several other governments returned the looted Abacha funds to the federal government, so how do you then say, did they argue that to ensure that monies will not be looted? What happened in that case?
But I know it's not record. Irrespective of anybody who will say that Nigerian federal government never denied that Abacha money is looted. If a word is ascribed to President Buhari when he was campaigning, I know those are all right,
Mr. Ajulo, pardon us. We need to go to break, but just hang on. Mr. Bani, hang on as well. You'll respond when we return in a moment. Welcome back. Well, Mr. Mondo Bani, could you go ahead and respond? Yes, you're back now. You can go ahead. Okay, I think it seems to have frozen on us. And so, yeah, Kaide, we're going to see something.
He's in transit, so you expect that. But, Mr. Ajulo, while we'll try to get Mr. Bani back, a couple of issues you have raised, really, and just to be clear and simplify it, because there's been a lot of legal terms, jargons going around, but just let's simplify it for Nigerians. So you agree, just to be clear, you agree that the money was stolen from Delta State, am I right?
Yes, I agree that the money was stolen from Delta State, but that is not the issue here.
No,
the issue is the law.
I think yes is good enough, Mr. Ajulo. I want to simplify this for the viewer. So you agree that it was stolen from the Delta State government, okay? And you also agree with this judgment when His Lordship Ndukwanya JCA defined restitution as an act of giving back to a person something that was lost or stolen, or paying him for the loss. By the way, this was in the case of Emmanuel Nwude versus federal government of Federal Republic of Nigeria and others. So do you agree with this judgment regarding restitution?
No, certainly I agree with it, but you know, most of the cases, they cannot be the same. I think
so you agree that if restitution means that you return to the person it was stolen from, if we were to just juxtapose, restitution in this case will also mean returning to the Delta State government. Am I right?
There'll be a little problem there. The problem here is this: when we talk of restitution is equitable. And when it comes to, if you come to equity, you must come with a clean hand. As it is now, whosoever that asks for restitution, the hand must be clean. Delta State government, the hand not clean till now. And these are the things we have to be sure of. These are the things we have to canvass. Cases may sound the same, but no case you can't see the
Sorry, how do you mean that the Delta State government's hand is not clean?
It is not clean in the sense that till today, like I said earlier, government is in continuum. Government is in perpetuity. The Delta State government, they are in denial. It will be uncharitable for you to say that your money is not missing, for you to be on record. But
Mr. Ajulo, isn't that why we have courts? But isn't that why we have courts? The court has decided that money was indeed stolen. So isn't it immaterial if anybody out there says money was not stolen?
Yes, money was indeed stolen. And as at the time that the money was indeed stolen, the same courts, having said that the money was indeed stolen, has already ordered for forfeiture of that money to acquaint the Majesty government. That is what it is. So by law, this is not what kind of idea. This is what kind of idea.
Angelo, where did court say money was stolen from? Was it stolen from the federal government or the Delta State government or from the black race or the whole world?
But again, if I
where did the court say money was stolen from, Mr. Angelo?
No,
was it from the Delta State government, the federal government?
Best to my knowledge,
yes.
Best to my knowledge, the court did not say that. But what happened in that matter is that when Ibori was arrested in UK for money laundering, Ibori pleaded guilty. Ibori pleaded guilty. It is a case of, in a situation which we are traveling out of this country, you are asked to declare your money, and you refuse to declare that money. The money you refuse to declare, if you are caught, will be forfeited to federal government. And I'm sure nobody will ask you where the money comes from or not. But by record,
second, Mr. Angelo, when he pleaded, just when Ibori pleaded guilty, to what did he plead guilty? What was the charge to which he pleaded guilty?
One of the charges is money laundering and moving unauthorized money to Nigeria.
Well, in the build-up to the case, one can assume that definitely he took the money from a particular coffer.
Yes.
Delta State, assumably?
Yes, in the build-up to the case, certainly yes.
Delta State, assumably?
Yes.
Now, in the spirit of the judgment card they read to you earlier, shouldn't it just go back to where it was taken?
That is where the issue is. Like I said earlier, I tried to
know why that is an issue. But let's go back to Mr. Ubani. I hope he's there now. Let's speak to just one more thing, because this will just keep going round and round on this particular thing. There's also the issue of what use government has decided to put this money. Mr. Ajilo was trying to raise it earlier when government is saying that they intend to use the money for those legacy projects, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, Abuja-Kaduna or Abuja-Kano Road, and Second Niger Bridge. Meanwhile, I'm wondering how is that even, a thing, because previous resources from various places as well have been assigned to the same thing. What's your take? Mute your mic.
Okay. Are you hearing me now? Sorry, I'm sorry about that.
Please go ahead.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. I listened to the Attorney General of the Federation, Mr. Malami, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. He was very explicit why the money should not be returned to Delta. He never mentioned the fact that the political elites there swore an affidavit and said that no money was missing. The reason he gave was Ibori was convicted under a federal legislation. That is the argument. And for that purpose, they have entered into a negotiation with Britain that they will now invest that loot on legacy projects. In other words, it was a subject of negotiation. I keep on saying it. It was not something that Britain imposed and said, look, don't return this money to Delta State because of the fact that some few people swore an affidavit and said no money was missing. It was a product of negotiation. So at that point of negotiation, Nigerian government could have also told Britain that we have legacy project domiciled in Delta and we want to use that money there. That could have been done. Even if they have taken 20% and say 80% of that money, we are going to use it to develop infrastructural deficiencies in Delta State, it would have made more meaning to people. But for you now to say that, because of the fact that few people swore an affidavit, and I'm very happy he even contradicted himself, saying that Delta people wrote through him. Delta people wrote through him. In other words, it wasn't all the Deltans that said that no money was missing. It was few people that Ibori had a hand in bringing into power. Ordinarily, we said there was no money missing because that was the organ. But in the light of the revelation, yes.
Let me bring this in as we wind down. Now, If you argue that the money should be returned to Delta States as a result of what you say, well, the funds came from there. How about this case? Remember the $15 million allegation that former AFCC chairman, Mr. Ribadu, said the former Delta State governor, Ibori, bribed him with? Federal High Court Abuja also ruled at that time that the funds be returned to the coffers of the federal government and be captured in the 2012 budget. How about that?
That was a subject of litigation, and there was a court pronouncement. That was the subject of litigation, and there was a pronouncement. Is there any pronouncement now against this money coming to Delta State by either international court or by any court in Nigeria? There's no such judgment. That was the product of a litigation. Somebody went to court, and it was decided that, oh, you wanted to use this money to bribe Ribadu, and you deny that you never in any way bribe him.
But in the same vein,
it's a subject of contention.
So perhaps in the same vein, Mr. Obani. So is there is there a court judgment also that says this money should go to Delta State government in the same vein?
No. In the same vein, this is logical. Where does that money, or where did the money come from? That's the first question you should ask. And then if you now answer logically that the money comes from the Delta State Treasury, then it will become natural that that money should be returned to where it is taken. I have cited Article 35 of the same United Nations Convention Against Corruption. It says that that money must be returned to the victims. Who are the victims of this particular corruption? It is the people of Delta State. So naturally, that money should go to them. But the other one you mentioned, the other one you mentioned was the subject of litigation. That was a process, court trial, and court now made a pronouncement. But in this one, there is no law, there is no judgment that says that that money should not be returned to Delta State.
Okay, gentlemen, we need to rest our case at that point. Would you thank both of you, Mr. Monday Obadi, former second vice president of the NBA, and Dr. Kayode Ajulo, who is also a legal practitioner. Gentlemen, thank you both for talking to us today.